This is game 3 of the Mystical tournament that we had at Portland Game Store in Portland, Oregon. At the top of the screen is Paul playing an Avatar Water deck, and at the bottom of the screen is Vince playing a Druid deck. So the Mystical is part of a tournament series that Portland Game Store is having in 2026 called the Trials of Spring. And each tournament draws upon a set of 6 thematic avatars that you can choose from for that specific event. In this case, the avatars chosen were thematic around kind of like more like a mystical origins or mystical background. That's why we're seeing a Druid and Avatar Water in the mix here. It's also important to note that for this tournament series, proxies for avatars were allowed. And that was to give people the ability to kind of experiment and play around with avatars that they may not necessarily have, and not be kind of shut out from that opportunity just because of the cost of them. And I think like the only avatars where that are really an issue at this point are from the alpha avatars, the original 4 elemental alpha avatars like Avatar of Water. But I think as we've seen in the tournament series, like people have just started creating proxy and custom avatars just for fun because it is allowed for the games. We got a turn 2 from Vince with a version of prayer, warding Tawny. Seems like a good play here, just because with the rules changes to Druid now, Tawny cannot come back every time you summon a site. You only get a Tawny token at the beginning on your first site, and that's it. So giving Tawny a little bit more survivability with a ward seems like a good play. Paul getting a good spread of water sites out here and playing a Koi Nixie into the center, passing turn. Koi Nixie, I think if you don't have a target on it, it might be a little bit of a stronger play to play it to cast it submerged under your water site. It just makes it a little bit harder for your opponent to interact with. I think, like, I guess the pros for playing it there is that it gives your Koi Nixie the opportunity to defend if needed, or threaten to attack into your opponent's site if needed. But I think for a game piece like that, the ability is the thing that you care about more with Koi Nixie, the ability to pull things forward. And it's probably like less important for it to be on the board threatening to do like a defender and attack. Vince casting a Rift Valley, moving forward with the Virgin, and then moving forward with Tawny as well before casting turn. He does not have a turn 3 play. So no cards cast from hand turn 3 there. Rift Valley, it feels like a good play there, pushing the Koi Nixie out, and also pushing the River Rapids out from the center of the board. Separating River Rapids from being adjacent to Trollbridge also feels like a strong move there. It prevents Paul from comboing things and pushing them from River Rapids onto the Trollbridge, forcing either a strike or discard. So that was just like it was a fortuitous for Vince that he was able to get that Rift Valley split out on the board here. Paul contemplating his next move here. It looks like he has a Mirror Realm, and I think he's just trying to decide what he wants to target for his Mirror Realm choice. No, no, he's not gonna play. He's not gonna play a site. Instead, he's tapping to flood Rift Valley with the Avatar Water ability, teleporting forward onto Rift Valley, and then casting Lugbog Cat onto the now flooded Rift Valley. Which I don't know if there's a specific reason why he's choosing to do that instead of playing out the sight in his hand. If he wants to get his avatar into position to make a future play. But we'll see how that one plays out for him. Lugbag Cat on its own enough of a threat to start causing problems for him. I think notably, another thing that Paul could have done on his turn there is use Koi Nixie to target a nearby enemy minion and force it to take a step towards the Koi Nixie site. So Paul could have used the Koi Nixie ability to target Tani. The effect would have failed because Tani is warded, but from being targeted, just by being targeted by an effect, the ward would break to prevent that ability from happening. So it would have been a free way for Paul to get the ward off of Tani last turn. Vince tapping for a fourth sight here. I think he was thinking long and hard about whether or not to draw a sight or a spell for turn here on turn 4, and he's choosing to draw a sight because he wants to get to 4 mana. So I think likely we're gonna see a play here that costs 4 mana on this turn. And it looks like he has a Pudge Butcher in his hand. He's considering whether or not he wants to play Pudge Butcher out. He does have threshold requirement for it, for sure, to play out. Vince double checking the ability and wording on Ring. Just seeing how that's going to work. Playing out a Pudge Butcher to Rift Valley. And then passing turn. So that's what he wanted the 4th mana for on turn 4 to get the Pudge out. To create a threat that Paul has to respond to. Paul selecting a target on the Mirror Realm, choosing Troll Bridge but playing it forward, playing a Drown from hand to drown Pudge, unfortunately. Rift Valley still flooded from the Avatar of Water ability. And then attacking the Lugbog Cat with the Lugbog Cat for 4 points of damage in onto Varmint Warrens. Vince, it looks like opting not to defend. Not to defend with Tani. Still leaving the Koi Nixie where it is. Choosing not to do anything with that. And again, missing that he could choose to target Tani to break the ward off of it before passing turn here. Vince drawing another sight for turn, bringing his mana up to 5, and he must have something that he needs to cast for 5 mana on this turn that feels important, maybe as a response to the Lugbog Cat. We'll see how that plays out here. So 5 mana in his mana pool now. He's got a spread of thresholds. I'm counting 4 earth and 2 fire. 2 fire threshold, 5 mana for a lava flow. So that's why he wanted that extra mana and sight on turn 5 curve here, and why he chose to draw the sight for his turn to be able to play that. And that is his response to lava flow. So he's using Tawny to cast that. So Tawny will not die from lava flow, and the origin point will be from Tawny. So 5 points to Lugbog Cat, 4 points to the Avatar of Water, because it deals damage to all targets at affected sites, not just minions. Avatar of Water, Paul tapping for a second Oasis on the back row there. Brings his mana base up to 5 as well. 5 mana for an Archangel Raphael. Unfortunately, able to get that nearby the Druid, and Archangel Raphael will come in warded and also strike the Druid for 4 points of damage. Paul contemplating what to do with his Koi Nixie. Choosing to activate the ring from casting Raphael and pinging Koi Nixie. I think because he wants to heal. He wants to take advantage and heal for a point of damage. Not willing to commit by moving Koi Nixie and attacking Rift Valley, or again not activating its ability to target Tawny. Vince in a bit of a jam here. He is a little low on card advantage just because he's spent a couple turns drawing sights instead of spells for turn. He's got 5 mana in his mana pool, and 5 is a decent number. It should allow him to make some plays here. 5 for a Panorama Manticore. Panorama Manticore will provide a good solution to combat the Archangel that Paul has gotten out, and then Vince positioning it centrally into Varmint Warrens, which seems good. Varmint Warrens prevents any beasts on the site from being attacked. I think Panorama Manticore is a beast, and also it gives him central mobility to defend against anywhere that the Archangel Raphael could potentially attack into. Yeah, Paul trying to force Koi Nixie forward, and then Vince just reminding him that he's on Varmint Warrens, so he's unable to be targeted. And again, I guess now thinking about it now, that maybe that's why Paul was not targeting Tawny to remove the ward earlier, because Tawny's on Varmint Warrens and can't be targeted. Paul, unfortunately, getting a very advantageous self-same Simulacrum out, copying Raphael, and striking the Druid for another 4 points of damage. So now having two angels floating around there with ward on the board. Vince getting dangerously close to door here at 8 life total. And the only pieces on board for him are the Manticore and Tawny. He could use the Manticore to remove Tawny, or excuse me, he could use the Manticore to remove the Nixie from the board, but he'd be leaving himself wide open to attacks from the Archangels. He needs to figure out a way to resolve these Archangels. If he had a desert, that would be a great play right now, to be able to play out the desert, ping off the wards from both of the Archangel Raphaels that are sharing sight, and then it makes it more palatable for him to attack into one of the Archangels with the Manticore. But unfortunately, I don't think that is the site that he has in hand. Vince playing out, a Pilgrim Shrine. Pilgrim Shrine comes in with a ward on it, and any minion leaving that site, can receive that ward transferred to it. Tawny attacking in, or Tawny attempting to attack in. Paul reminding Vince that the mirror realm that they're sitting on is was a copy of Trollbridge, and that messes up Vince's calculations, because now in order to do that he would have to fully sacrifice Tawny by taking the strike to removing the ward and then dying when it attacks in, or discarding a card. And I think he's so low on cards in hand that it's probably really unpalatable to discard a card just for this move that he's about to play. So yeah, he's flying in with Trollbridge. He's choosing to take a 3 power strike. 2 Tawny, breaks the ward, and then attacks through to the self-same, which breaks the ward on self-same and kills Tawny. So he's gotten one of the wards off. He's gotten one of the wards off on one of those angels on that site, and then I think what he was hoping for was he was hoping for a little bit more value from Tawny, and getting Tawny to stick around for at least one more turn there. But unfortunately, the Troll Bridge takes care of that. One ward off of those minions, it gives him an opening to attack in with the Manticore. And again, it would be more palatable if Vince had a way to get both of the wards removed off of the Manticore, off of the Archangels, before attacking in with the Manticore. At that point, it makes the choice a lot harder for Paul to make. Unfortunately, the best he can do is play a Virgin of Prayer to ward the Manticore before attacking in. So he's attacking the unwarded self-same. Paul choosing to defend with the warded Archangel. They're having a quick conversation about whether or not tapping is required to defend, and yeah, it is. It is a cost that is paid for in order to use the defend ability. And they're just they're like triple checking it, just because it is very important to what Vince wants to do with the rest of his turn here. So it does require the minion to tap to defend. So that does tap down that Archangel. It breaks the ward on that, so both Archangels now no longer have wards, and it should also break the ward on the Manticore. So they're getting confirmation again from another local player that yes, that is how defend works. It does require a tap cost. But as you can see now, it was critical to what Vince wanted to do, because he's playing a backstab, and backstab requires the targeted minion to be tapped in order to strike it. So they're just cleaning up the ward state. Yeah, he loses the ward from the Manticore when he does that. It does give... but the backstab goes through, and he is able to kill and remove one of the Archangels. at end of turn, the Manticore will untap because he played a spell that was an element other than fire, which is the requirement for Manticore to get his untap ability at end of turn. So it's a great turn for Vince, and a really strong position to end his turn and pass his turn on here. Unfortunately, like Koinixie taking a step forward, and then activating its ability to force Manticore to take a step forward out of position, and giving Paul an opening to attack in with the self-same Archangel. Vince choosing to defend with the Virgin of Prayer. That will kill the Virgin of Prayer, but save him 4 points of damage. And I believe he also opted to take the 3-point strike on the Manticore when it was forced into the second Troll Bridge from Koinixie. Guile Sirens pinged with the ring to gain a life. That's dangerous, just because if Paul had a second spell that he could have played, he could have pinged for one more to remove the Manticore. But fortunately for Vince, Paul was unable to do that, so the Manticore gets to live for another turn here. Vince beginning his turn, and I think he's going to be in trouble here. He's on the back foot with that Archangel on his home site. Even if he flips for Bruin, which I think is likely this turn, that he ends up flipping for Bruin here, it still is a tough position to be in for him. Vince attempting to attack into the Koinixie with the Manticore. The Koinixie, a higher value target than just the Guile Siren, so forcing Paul to choose to defend with the Guile Siren if he wants to, and he is choosing to defend with the Guile Siren and swap that out. And then Vince, tapping for Bruin, as well as playing out an Order of the White Wing. So getting some blockers out onto the board here. And Manticore becoming untapped because he played an out of element spell, a non-fire spell. Paul getting a mismanaged Mortuary out onto the board. That brings his mana total in pool up to 6. Atlantean Fate coming out onto the board here. That will remove the Manticore threat and submerge the Koinixie, but the Nixie can just come back. A great play for Paul here. It buys him. It removes a piece that Vince could have really used to start equalizing the life total situation here. And Paul choosing to fly back to his own mirror realmed Troll Bridge. I think what he could have done instead is just attacked diagonally up to the Briar Patch, the now flooded Briar Patch, since the Manticore is no longer there to defend. And so he could have snuck in another 4 points of damage on that turn. But I don't think he saw that attack line, and that's fine. So moving back, Vince still has some blockers set up here. He's got Bruin, he's got the Order of the White Wing hanging out on his home site. Vince beginning his turn here, and we'll see what he has to work with and what he's able to do. Again, I think he's like Vince is sitting at a lot of mana in his mana pool. 6 mana in his mana pool. Playing out a Guardian Angel. Playing it again a little defensively in positioning. I think he's a little nervous about that Koi Nixie. He doesn't want the Koi Nixie to surface and force it into somewhere. That Paul can manipulate it with. Paul playing a Call of the Sea on the Varmint Warrens, which forces all adjacent minions to take a step onto that site and then submerges everything there. Unfortunately, I think this was a misplay on Paul's part, because if he played that, it would have also forced the self-same onto Varmint Warrens and drowned that as well. But they didn't catch that, and so they killed all of Vince's minions there, and let the self-same get a free strike for 4 points in. Vince then choosing to respond on his next turn here with an Earthquake. With an Earthquake to remove the self-same. So Vince almost stabilized on the board. It's just a question of whether or not he has enough if he has enough gas to kind of stage a comeback at this point. The ring has been out for Paul the entire game, and it is a constant threat, and it has essentially ensured that he is going to be topped off on life for the lion's share of the game here. The Guardian Angel leaving the Pilgrim Shrine sites, taking the ward with it, and then Vince trying to cast another Guardian Angel, but unfortunately that's another misplay. They forget that he already cast the Earthquake for 5, and he doesn't have enough mana to cast the Guardian Angel on the same turn. I don't think they actually end up catching that this game though, so that we're just going to roll forward with the board states as is. Vince tantalizingly closed the door here. So if Paul could just find a way to deal 4 points of damage, he could bring him the door. Paul just exploring the board state. He was thinking that Briar Patch dealt damage to everything entering and leaving the site, so he could force a step with Koi Nixie, and when leaving Briar Patch, the Guardian Angel would take a point of damage, which unfortunately for him is not the way the site works. It only applies to enemy units. He's going to do it anyways, though, even though it doesn't take the damage, because Koi Nixie also taps the minion as part of forcing it to take the step. And when tapped, it loses the ability to defend. And then stepping forward with Koi Nixie to attack for 2. Technically, he didn't need to take a step forward. He could have also attacked Rift Valley that they're on. Playing a Floodplain, and then playing out a Guile Siren. I think Paul could have also just attacked with his avatar. Well, I guess his avatar's only a one power, so it wouldn't have been enough to get him the door. Instead, Vince trying to attack in with the Guardian Angel to the Koi Nixie, and Paul choosing to defend with the Guile Siren that was cast to the Mirror Realm instead, which forces a trade on those two pieces. They both have 3 power. Blessed Village coming forward here, and Guardian Angel moving forward. The second Guardian Angel with the ward attacking in, finally removing Koi Nixie, and breaking ward. So Vince doing his best to hold on here. Paul still at advantage. Attacking for 3, and Paul must be close to out of gas. It looks like he has one spell, one sight in hand, and I guess wasn't able to play anything on his last turn. Vince taking the opening to try to run away with his Druid as best he can, and finally sneaking in some points of damage there with an attack from the Guardian Angel onto the River Rapids. Paul joking that he's taking a quick look through his collection for no reason at all, which is a joke because, you know, when you telegraph that you're looking through your collection, it is very likely that you have a toolbox in your hand. So we're likely to see a toolbox play on this turn. There's the toolbox for 2 points of mana. Toolbox triggers a ping from the ring, so Paul will gain a life off of that, and ping the Guardian Angel for a point of damage if that's relevant. It is not relevant though. He's just going to boil. He's going to cast the boil from collection to remove the Guardian Angel, and then moving forward and attacking a site with the avatar for a point of damage. Again, he technically didn't need to attack in. I think they're just forgetting that Rift Valley is up there in position. I frequently forget that when you play sites in unusual positions, like on your opponent's side of the board. Sometimes you forget that those are actually your sites, because commonly the site that should be forward, typically, of your home site is your own site. So just to clean up that interaction, when he moves forward and attacks, he's moving into the Druid's nearby range. The Druid is flipped. It does a point of damage to everything that enters a site nearby. So the Avatar Water takes a point of damage. The Avatar Water attacks for a point of damage, bringing Vince to 1. It's less important that Avatar Water took a point of damage there. The ring is just going to keep pinging him back up in value there, but Vince, again, like dangerously close to door, and likely going to door next turn. Vince defensively playing a Gargantula, just to prevent another point of damage from coming in on an attack. If Paul really wanted to, Paul could just move with his avatar and cast the spell, and then ping the Druid off of that spell cast, and that would take him to the door. Instead, he's playing a Thin Ice with his avatar. Brings his mana total up to 8 mana. It's It's a lot of mana. It's a lot of mana. Again, he's got a lot of mana, and I think he's short on card advantage at this point. But 8 mana is a lot to work with, especially when you have a ring out. I'm playing Abaddon Succubus, pinging the Gargantula for point of damage. Abaddon Succubus. So I think what happened is he played the Abaddon Succubus, pinged with the ring, played a swap, pinged with the ring again, and then swapped and forced the spider onto the troll bridge, forcing Vince to choose what to do. What to do, whether or not to take a strike or discard a card. And I think what they I think that Vince didn't do the calculation correctly there, because no matter what, I think the Gargantula was going to die at that point with the Succubus ability. Unless, actually, you know what I think happened? I think Paul played the Succubus, then immediately used the Succubus ability to lure it, and then did the swap. Which I think that, no, I take that back. I think they just didn't really think through those interactions as well, because no matter what, it was going to be enough damage to kill the spider. So Vince would probably have been better served just taking the strike from the troll bridge and keeping the Poison Nova in his hand. But Gargantula just taking it a step in to get into position there, and then casting a Fire Breathing from Gargantula for 4 points of damage, dealing 4 points of damage to Paul and removing the Abaddon Succubus. So Vince just doing whatever he can, holding on for dear life here. Paul just taking a step forward and attacking for door. And then passing turn. Vince now at door. He's really he needs to make some defensive plays here. So attacking in with Gargantula, moving closer towards his avatar for 4 points of damage. Playing a Shield Maiden, which is a good play. I think, unfortunately, the problem is that when you're backed into a corner, and your opponent has a ring, all they really have to do is take a step forward and attack and cast the spell. Shield Maidens prevents that from happening, though, because it reduces damage loss by 1. So it gives Vince an out from the ring, because Paul would have to deal with the Shield Maiden first, or come up with a way around the Shield Maiden first. So Paul thinking through his choices here. And I think he has a win condition. And he's looking through his collection. It looks like he has another... it looks like he has another toolbox in his hand. So I think he has a win condition in his toolbox collection, and he's just working through how he's going to do that now. So he's going to take a step forward. He's going to take a step forward. He's going to use a toolbox for an Ice Lance. Ice Lance deals 3, then 2, and the Shield Maiden will reduce 2 to 1, but that's still enough damage to get that final point in on the Druid. So fun game. It felt very engaging. Even though it felt like Vince was on the back foot for a large portion of that game, but an interesting game to watch for sure. And that'll be the end of round 3, and we'll move on to the fourth and I believe the final round in this tournament next.